Welcome to yet another episode of the Dynamic CIO. I, Smriti Gandhi, Director Community Engagement and Executive Editor at Dynamic CIO. We are here to understand the top priorities of CIO for 2020. Now, the new normal is disruption. Organizations that lean into this reality and leverage their innovation capacity, technology will not only survive but grow as a result. Now, gone are the days when CIOs were put into a box and at the back-end operations just to keep the lights on of the organizations. Today, the CIOs are driving the digital transformation and significant enhancement in a way that the company delivers value to the customers. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Mr. Debashis Singh, Senior Vice President and CIO Mphasis. He's the result-driven IT leader with expertise envisioning and leading technology-based growth initiatives in the company. He carries over a total of 20 years plus experience in the IT and the ITES industry. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Shruti, for having me here. It is really a pleasure to be part of your session. Looking forward for the great discussion.
Thank you so much. Without much ado, let me jump straight into the conversation. First question, sir. 2-3 key learnings from 2021 and your agenda for 2022.
Well, a very pertinent question, and there are a lot of debate around because possibly just to kind of do a step back and look at what has changed in last 1.5 years, 2 years for that matter, because that is something which gave an opportunity at the same time challenges for the entire industry. And for every CIO, it was a complete revisit or rewriting your strategy, your direction, and your roadmap for the organization. So pandemic possibly gave us an opportunity for redefining, dropping the legacy and redefining the way forward for almost all CIOs across the industry, across the country. And I must say, doing a pat on the back here, but not for me, for the entire community out here, that the entire IT industry has lived up to the expectation and enabled all kind of businesses, whatever we see today around, to get delivered over the digital media. So that essentially says every business today is a digital business, irrespective whether you are doing in a brick and mortar earlier era or you are a cloud-born company. But reality is your business has got converted to a digital business. And having said that, your priorities have also changed accordingly, right? And for the companies who are existing in the past, for them, the biggest challenge was how to translate and transform to the new age, how to ensure that you are aligned to the requirement in this era at a very, very short span of time. And I will give you a couple of directions, couple of areas which possibly everyone has kind of ventured into and taken cover some distance around that. First, how to ensure that your employees, your stakeholders, your customers are connected seamlessly and working from anywhere, so to say. So the enabling factor behind it, having the resources available around the clock from possibly cloud. So cloud has become a critical driver enabling this. Second, while you are having people distributed, because it's a very, very interesting time we're talking about, right? Employees are not inside the office. Data and the applications and the tools, they are all in the somewhere, you do not know where they are. We call it cloud. And that is what the world we are in. So how we have ensured that in this era, in this new normal, how you have enabled your access, employee experience, at the same time, how you have enabled your collaboration, security, and other controls around it, and the governance factors, so on and so forth. So because your requirement, end of the day, depending on the industry that you come from, if you are possibly a BFSI kind of an industry, there is no leeway, there is no leverage that you have got, that you are working from a remote environment, hence your security norms will be less. Or your customer experience can be diluted because you are not inside the four walls of the offices. So all these challenges were possibly new opportunity for all the CIOs in the tech for fraternity, and these are the priorities for everyone. Many enterprises, many organizations have covered quite a distance in that, and some are taking possibly as we speak moving in this direction. So from an industry perspective, I will say that these are the few priorities that everybody is working on. Cloud, when you say cloud, we are not talking about only moving the load, leveraging the cloud technology, like moving into the real serverless architecture, utilizing the basic the connectivity around it, ensuring that your employee experience part is taken care of while the access of the applications, etc., being done, preferably using a SaaS environment, or if not SaaS, then a PaaS environment. That's one. Second, how you are enabling your collaboration platform. And today's context, collaboration definition has changed. It is no more having an audio or video conference or a connect. It is well beyond that, because every organization has had a path, I will say, for a structured meeting, like a video platform, sharing platform, or a content sharing platform, or a audio conferencing platform. But in a real world, in the current situation, that is possibly the minimal. It doesn't really help to bring the real collaboration need. So there is always a requirement of a unstructured ad hoc connect, which used to happen typically in the office. You possibly go and knock the door and say, I have an idea, I want to bounce it off, discuss about it. That in a traditional platform, you cannot have it. So how you deal with those kind of situations, those kind of environments, those kind of requirements. So that is the second part of from a collaboration standpoint. There are other aspects to that: human factor, people factor, HR factors, how you are dealing with those side of it. So that is all put together creates your collaboration platform. So that is one second area. Third, of course, as everything has moved out from a anywhere, anytime situation, how you are dealing with your security requirements. So these are the definite priority for the industry, and no exception for Mphasis. We are also walking the path as we speak. A lot of stuff has been done, and there are definitely, it's a journey, as we know, and there are a few things has to be done as well. So that is where I will say the priority for the next year will continue.
Very clearly, you're very clear in your mind about your plan, cloud, collaboration, where you also talk about workforce and security. And what you said, in the start, every business is a digital business. I was recently, just 2 hours back, having a conversation with a CIO, and he said, every company is no longer just a company. Every company is soon going to be a technology company. Absolutely. Because of the technology services that they have to adopt. So, you are echoing each other's words without talking. So all the CIO's agenda is very clear, I can see. So, adding to what you said, you spoke about cloud and the technologies which are there. Which are the new business technologies that you will put to use in 2022? And what are the problem areas specifically that they will solve?
Perfect. A great question, and completely aligned to what we are looking forward. As I said, the digital is driven by cloud to a large extent to start with, and a pandemic has definitely added the required full into that. So when you move outside your so-called defined perimeter, which used to be there in the earlier era, what it becomes the biggest challenge is the visibility, because you are on a hybrid cloud environment, because that is what the reality for majority of the enterprises are. So you are operating out of multiple clouds and in multiple flavors. And addition to that, there will be certain, be it contractual, be it statutory, or be it customer needs, for which you will have certain portion running on-prem as well. So across this hybrid environment, how you deal with the visibility side of it, and once you have the visibility, then only you can bring areas, deal with the situations like your compliance needs, your experience needs, and so on and so forth. So visibility becomes a huge challenge. So that is something which we are currently working with multiple service providers. And as we talk about, when all this thing happened, possibly 2 years back, everybody had their own ways. And in the sense, when you say everyone, I'm talking about every service provider had their own way of doing things. And that was not helping. That was probably complicating the things more. And today's context and today's priority for, of course, Mphasis and everyone across the industry is to bring all these control units, or so to say, visible units or monitoring units, whatever you want to name it, together into a single pane. And if you have that visibility in a single pane, you possibly can manage it much, much better. And I will tell you what are the benefits and how you intend to do it. Because as we all know, there are other factors for CIOs to look into as employee experience one, speed, agility is two, and the cost as three. These are the priorities will always remain, and that's given, right? So you can only deal with those areas, those priority, when you have a complete visibility across the heterogeneous environment, across the hybrid environment that you have today. So that you can look at in a real time where your loads are, where your kind of different applications are running from, and is it aligned to your requirement of the business? Is it aligned to the customer experience requirements? Is it aligned to your cost control or cost budget numbers? And those are the things which you start playing around, moving around to ensure that you are going correct. So all these things happens by, I mean, it is impossible to do it in a manual way, right? You get into bringing automation around it. So we are talking about the cognitive technologies like enabling the machine learning, bringing the AI on top of it, and applying the business logics, which will deal the entire automation layer depending on the need. Suppose one of my stakeholder wants it to be enabled, let's say within 15 minutes, and that resource by default on a business logic definition supposed to be delivered out of service provider A, but due to a challenge internally within the infrastructure or maybe with the service provider, I cannot do it at service provider A, I have to go to B. And those kind of business logics, those kind of definition has to be driven by the automation layer. So bringing all this together, having an orchestration, running a robotics automation with the power of machine learning and AI, that is what is the driver to kind of achieve your the default priorities for the CIOs all the time, which is your cost, agility, and the speed, and of course the diverse requirements from your stakeholders. So that remains as the priority. And as I said, this once you enable those things, it will add value to your business. It will give you that agility that you need so that you can move, because business requirements are very, very dynamic in today's world. So I can't have a static approach. I can't have a textbook prescribed approach saying this is what I will do it. So it has to be a dynamic approach. And those things can only be achieved if you have an AI engine running on top of it. You have the visibility of data all across, and of course you have the right business logic around it. So that those are the enablement which IT industry is going to do it. And we are on that path. We are covered quite a distance in that, and looking forward to possibly continue walking the same path.
I can see very clearly three things that you have in mind: severance, accuracy, and speed for going forward in 2022 and even currently in whatever you're implementing. So, you spoke about in this, when we started, you spoke about collaboration, cloud, and security. Since you spoke about cloud, I wanted to check with you. Do you see a growing shift towards cloud? What is your going forward in 2022, what will be your cloud footprint?
Well, Mphasis is a cloud company. I mean, interestingly, we started this journey around 4 years back, well before pandemic, and we completed our journey before pandemic. So that was one of the biggest enabler for us during the pandemic era, where you don't have to really worry about from where the resources are coming from, because they're all in the cloud. But if we just look at the industry, there was a research paper, I think, published by IDC some time back. I was going through that. It says the cloud adoption across the globe, across the industry, has got advanced by almost 3 to 4 years. Whatever supposed to happen down the line 4 years has already happened because of the pandemic. So that is something which we do see it in our internal businesses, our customer that we work with, and of course from the industry perspective as well. So it is definitely a priority for everyone. The question is no more when, it is now. So that is something that's already started, and we are kind of, I mean, as you said, we are already there, and we see the benefit of cloud. But as I said, moving to cloud is step one. There are a lot has to be done to probably enable your, as I said, agility, speed, and of course the cost controls. Otherwise, it will become a nightmare to deal with the different cloud environment. So bring visibility, ensure you are utilizing the right resource at the right place, and when the resources are not in use, they are definitely kind of brought it down. So there has to be complete control, complete management, complete governance. And as long as you deal with those areas, definitely that is the way to look forward.
This was a very amazing piece of and a very positive advice for our community members. Thank you so much for this. In the paucity of time, I'll ask you one last question. Could you summarize your roadmap for 2022 and beyond the hybrid world?
Sure. So the first thing comes is the automation. That is the highest priority for us. When I say automation, cutting across not only technology, business processes, cutting across the newest requirements because of hybrid, because of whatever the way we are in, and we will continue to be in that environment. So automation is the priority, starting from the core tech functions, bringing down your time, which was taking possibly hours or maybe days, to minutes and seconds. That is the first one. The second, of course, the compliance side of it. As we know that the threat landscape is definitely increasing every day. There is no more kind of the days when you used to have a generic threat that is what you used to deal with. But in today's context, it is very, very specific, completely targeted. So when it is a targeted attack, so to say, your controls and your defense mechanism has to be completely different to deal with it. You can't really deal in the similar way as you do a generic approach. So you need to have different solutions, different controls, different governance, different monitoring approach, and so on and so forth. So that is another space completely altogether to change and augment your technologies and the processes to deal with those targeted attacks. So that is the second priority of it. And third, of course, part of the cloud migration, whatever we did, we moved a lot of resources into standard IaaS and possibly at a high level of SaaS. We are kind of going to the next step, optimizing those and moving to a serverless architecture using the real power of cloud and ensuring that our cost and other basic requirements remains in the control. So this is the, I will say, three large priorities that we're driving. While under this, there are small components which will definitely get covered.
Being a coming from a cloud company, CIO, and all about, we can see very clearly that there is a great shift towards cloud, which we all see in pan organizations, any industry. We see this, and that's become the talk of the town. It's no longer a nice to have; it's become a must to have. And coming from you, and very clear cut agenda on what you want for your 2022, and hoping that the third wave or the fourth wave we don't get to see. I'm sure you're all set to brace all the. We hope that there is no negativity coming in 2022, but I'm sure that you are absolutely ready and to brace the new 2022. So thank you so much for this conversation.
Absolute pleasure, Smriti, talking to you. I'm really looking forward and expect things are all fine, goes good. But at the same time, as CIOs, as industry leaders, we're aligned and ready to handle any kind of unprecedented situations that might come our way. So I believe we are ready, but the industry should be ready as well. So looking forward for it.
Thank you so much. On behalf of Dynamics CIO, I would like to thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.